Okay, I've got a great video for you today. We're going to look at some things that haven't even been invented yet, and let's just get into this. Okay, before we get into the meat and potatoes, I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping. But before we get started, do an old man a favor. Go down there and hit the like button. It's not going to hurt you. Nobody will even know. All right? I appreciate you. Let's go. Okay, if you've been here before, this should look familiar to you. If not, this is the software I use to manage my own projects. It's proprietary software, meaning I built it and I own it. Okay, and having said that, real quick, I want you to know that down in the description is a link to my website where you can sign up for free Foreman or Field Management Training, and that will teach you everything that I think you need to know to manage a project properly. It's also a good foundation for using this product right here. And once you complete that course, I offer you the opportunity to go into my advanced Foreman training. That class comes with free use of this software, and I will send you all of the project data that you need to set up a project. We'll go through it step by step together. We'll build a project, build a master schedule. We'll write 2-week rolling schedules. We'll track time. We'll track our equipment. We'll get into reporting so that you can look at the numbers on the project and know what you're looking for. We're going to do forecasting, manpower loading, the whole caboodle. So I just want you to know that that's available to you. And we're going to go ahead and log in here. So this is just some sample projects I have set up in here. When we were together last, we built this new project right here. I'm going to click on that and open it up. Now, someone let me know that when I was speaking about tasks, we went over these columns here for supervision and materials, and also for the margin. And I told you that there was two benefits to this margin tab. One of them being that if you're doing a remodel project, and say for example you already had an existing conduit that went to a certain area that you could use for a home run, and all you needed to do is strip the wire out and make sure it was supported well and intact, you could actually deduct 50 or 25, 50%, 75% of the labor out of that task so that you weren't assigning all of the hours to build the whole conduit system since it's already in place, right? Now, the second benefit to this margin tab is, and this is an important one in my mind, once you run a project through this software, you'll figure out where you are on your labor, okay? I know that you're shooting out estimates and you think you know where you're at on your labor and you may be close, but this will tell you penny for penny where you're at on every phase of your construction. So you'll be able to get that information back and make those adjustments to future estimates. And once you're comfortable with where you're at, you can start screwing down your labor. So I could deduct 5% of my labor out of here and run my schedule off of that and see if my crews can keep up. Generally they can. And if they succeed at 5%, maybe you want to go to 10%. And what you want to do is step it up gradually and find out where they start to stumble. Okay? That's going to be your maximum efficiency. And I don't recommend that you bid every project there, right? That's getting pretty tight. But let's say, for example, that you were looking at a recession, okay? A recession comes and things get really tight, and you need to know where you can, how far you can drop your pricing and still make money. That's how you figure that out, by testing your crews and their productivity, so that you know exactly where you can come in on that number and still make $1. And you've already tested your crews, you know it's possible. No reason to cut your own throat in a good market, right? But when things get really competitive, or if you really, you have a project that you'd really like to get your hands on, at least you know what your crews are able to accomplish, okay? So that you can be as competitive as possible. All right, let's get out of here and let's look at our Gantt chart. I put together a master schedule. Okay, so here's our master schedule. Now, when we were last together, we had imported in all of our tasks, and they were all lined up here on the first day. I scheduled them out, and a couple of disclaimers. I realized that on a real project, we probably wouldn't be able to install the underground services at the same time as the parking lot lighting. I scheduled it this way for our next basic event, which is to write a 2-week rolling schedule, and I just wanted to include a little bit more work in there, so I had them both start at the same time. And I didn't schedule out I didn't build the entire master schedule, because we're not going to go through the whole thing. I just want to kind of take a look at the beginning here to cover some highlights. And I'll start up here. The work week is adjustable from 4 to 7 days. The hours are adjustable from 6 to 16 hours, so that should cover you in most cases. The next thing here is the material offset. I have it set for 4 weeks. I'll bring it into 2 weeks just so we can see it here. Okay, so this is your material warning, okay? This is basically to let your crews know, hey, you have, 2 weeks out from now, which I would recommend setting it at 4 weeks in this day and age. And you may even want to go a little bit further, but it lets them know you need to pay attention to the materials for this week right here, because those tasks are going to be coming up and you need to make sure those materials are on site. Okay, it's just kind of an early warning for them so that they keep their materials ahead of their labor, right? You want to make sure the material's there before the labor starts. Now, also on this first task right here, I can click on that and it brings up a folder for that work. And in there, I've put some things. You can put anything you want in here, any type of documentation, but just for this exercise, I put in a site plan. I put in the drawings for the switch gear. I put in the material list for all of the tasks in that phase of construction so that they have a reference. It's broken out by task so they can look at it task by task to see where all of those materials go. And also a contract for the backhoe, just so they know that that's been ordered. But any relevant documents that you think they may need in order to perform that task, you're going to want to pile them in here so they don't have to go looking for them. They can pull them right up on their phone or, a tablet or an iPad right there in the field. Okay, so let's go back to the Gantt chart. Also, if you click on this date, It'll pull up your daily log. You can auto-fill in the weather just by clicking this. Oh, sorry. I need to put in a address for this project. It doesn't know where to grab the weather from. I'm not going to go back and do that, but if you click autofill, it'll automatically fill in your weather for you, so you capture that information. Normally the address would pop up right here if I would have entered one for this sample project we're doing here. You can list your visitors, any delays, observations, safety, material needs, or material deliveries, things like that. So this is your daily log right here. Every day that should get filled out by your field manager, so you capture all of your relevant information on your project. So everything is right here for them, basically, to manage their project. You can see that I've adjusted the crew sizes, and it is dynamic. So if I adjust the crew, it automatically adjusts the duration on the task to match the crew size. The program knows how many hours are assigned for each task because it came right from our estimate. It also knows what the dollar value of each task is because we gave our project an average labor rate, and it's going to multiply the hours times that average labor rate to calculate the task labor budget. Okay, let me put that back to 3. Now, this tells your workers what size crew they need for this task. It tells them when that task is supposed to start and when it should finish. Okay, you can add documents for any one of these tasks if you want to. Generally, I try to pile the majority of it into the first task right here, so it's easy to find, and all of their information is in there. But if you have a certain task that requires some special documentation, you can add that in here. Any one of these tasks will accept documentation. The orange rows are what I call action items, so I want to make sure that my material is verified before they start this series of tasks. All of these items ought to be checked off prior to them starting any of these tasks right here, or they're not ready to start, right? That means they don't have the equipment and the things they need on site to start that actual task list. And you'll see once they check it off, it'll check off right here. But all of these ought to be green before they start their series of tasks. And this just enables me to be able to periodically log into the program and take a look and make sure that they are ready to, start their next series of tasks. Okay, now this whole schedule is printable. Anything in this project's printable. You just click Control P and it'll pull up your print form, and here it is. You can print it in any size paper that you want. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do, and let's pay attention to this little area right here. So as they start logging time against these tasks, a green bar is going to fill in right here, and we'll go through that exercise. We'll enter some time and come back and look at it. But it will also update your percentage of completion right here. So it'll start telling you, what your percent of completion is on each task. But let's go ahead and write a rolling schedule, and I just want to direct your attention to this section of the Gantt chart right here. I'm going to go over to the Schedules tab right here. Now our project is due to start on the 4th of April, which is today. So I'm going to select that date, and I'll select Create a Timesheet. First thing I need to do is edit this timesheet, so I'm going to click on edit, and it's going to ask me to select my crews. I know that I'm doing underground feeder work and underground branch work. Each one of those crews is a 3-man crew, so I'm going to select 6 workers. So I'm going to take an apprentice and a journeyman and a foreman, and I'll take a couple more journeymen and 1 more apprentice. Now this is, or would represent, your employee roster. Okay, that's easy to keep up to date. There's in the employees tab right here, you can actually import your employee list in from your accounting software if you want, or you can build it manually. And then you can archive employees because they do come and go, and I don't know about you, but I end up hiring a lot of temporary labor on the projects that I do. So a lot of the workers that I use don't get used on every project, so you can just archive them. Once you select your crew, so we got 2 3-man crews right there, we're going to click View Schedule, and that'll bring up schedule sheets for each one of the workers. I'm going to add some lines in here, and I think, let's see, I'm just going to put 5 in there. Okay, now if I click on this button right here, you'll see that it pulls up the exact same list of tasks as we saw on the Gantt chart. Okay, obviously these top tasks are action items. Our first actual installation task is right here. Tells us it's a 3-man crew, means I need to assign this same task to 3 people. Tells me when it's supposed to start. Okay, so to assign it, you just click on the task. It'll automatically assign it up here. If this worker was going to perform this task by himself, it's predicting 113.13 hours. Okay, so the program is looking at the hours that were estimated, and it's multiplying it by the average labor rate to come up with our task labor budget, and it's dividing it by this person's actual wage to tell him how long he has to install that material. So if I close this and open a new guy, and I'm just going to add a row here. Okay, and if I assign this same task to a second worker, you'll notice this guy's a journeyman, so he's higher paid. Once I select that task, it's going to split the hours between the 2 of them. It's going to blend the higher wage and the lower wage. Sorry, I selected the wrong phase of construction there. And it's going to change the hours to match their combined wage. So it's averaging their labor rate, and it's doing the math again. Now between the 2 of them, they only have 84.93 hours. I'm just going to slide this over a little bit, and I'm going to delete that entry. I'm going to come back up here to the first guy. I'm going to assign the rest of his tasks to him. He's part of the underground feeder crew, so those are his tasks. I'm going to close this right here. Then I'm going to actually clone this schedule over to 2 more workers. So this is going to be my source schedule, and I'm going to include this person and this person in that work. I'm going to confirm that. Once I do that, you'll see that I've actually put together 2-week schedules for 3 workers here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the last 3. Let me just close these up. We'll open this guy. I'm going to add some rows for him. I think I only need 2, but I'll make 3. And then we'll assign those tasks to that worker. Close this back up. Make him the source. Clone him over to the other 2 workers. And now our 2-week schedule has been created for all 6 of our workers. The next thing that I would do is populate that data so it'll roll those hours out day by day for each crew. This tells them what to work on, what day to work on it, and how many hours they have to complete it. Okay, so we just wrote 2-week rolling schedules for a crew of 2 crews of 3. Now, this is where we're kind of crossing the threshold. Up until the point of completing that master schedule, that's my job as a project manager, to put all of this together, get the data imported, build the schedule, and then hand this off to a field manager. I prefer for my field managers to write their own 2-week rolling schedules. So we cross the threshold between project manager and field manager here. Now the field manager is writing the schedules for his crew. It's just a simple point and click. It assigns the hours automatically, and they're ready to go to work, basically. This is adjustable, just like the Gantt chart, for the days and the hours. And also, if we go into here, you'll see it's got that same list of drawings and information that they need to perform those tasks. So they can actually access that same list right from their 2-week rolling schedule. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this out right here, and I'm going to go into here where it says enter actual hours. Now this is where they would record their time in, and there's several ways to do this. There's a phone app that you can use. Each employee can enter their own time. Again, you could print these out just by Control P, and you can print these out and you can hand them to them, and they can handwrite in their hours, and they can hand this back to you, and someone can do the data entry, either the field manager or someone they designate. Or the field manager can go in here daily and just enter hours for the whole crew. Another thing that you could do is I could actually create a crew on this employees tab right here. So I could create a underground feeder crew. Once the leader of that crew, whoever I designate, enters their own hours, it automatically washes over to the other 2 workers. Okay, so it automatically fills out their time as well. That's edible, of course, in case, if one guy shows up late, you need to deduct a little time for him, you can go in there and edit that. But for the majority of the time, it just washes right through, so it's a very simple process. There's a lot of ways to get the time in here. One thing that I like to do on my projects is I'll keep a little computer in my office. I'll let everybody know you're welcome to come in at the end of the day and enter your time right here on this computer. The reason I do that is because I don't want to hear them giving me grief for using their own phone for entering time. I just kind of tell them the computer's there, you can enter the time there. Oh, by the way, there is a phone app. If you just like to do it on your phone out in the field, whatever, you can do that as well. All of them generally end up just using their phone in the field and putting the hours in there. But I don't hear any any pushback about using their own phone because I'm providing them a computer to come in and log their hours if they choose to do that. Okay, I'm going to go through here real quick and enter some time in, and then we're going to look at that Gantt chart again, and then we're going to go look at some time reporting as well. Okay, so as you can see, I've entered time in against these tasks for all of the workers. Now, one point I want to make is that the program doesn't care if you work on these tasks out of order. You can enter hours anywhere in here for any of your tasks. It's going to keep track of all the hours, it's going to keep track of all the dollars either way. In a perfect world, of course, you'll follow your schedule and, go from A to Z, right? But that doesn't always happen, and it's okay. Anyway, I put time in. Now, the first crew, the top 3 workers are installing the feeder conduit. The bottom 3 are installing the branch conduit, 2 separate crews. I purposely slanted the hours, so I made the first crew working on the feeder conduit look like heroes by completing their work early. I made the other 3 workers, installing the branch conduit, look like they took too much time to install their material, okay? And I did that for a purpose, and we'll take a look at that now. But basically, this is where the hours get entered in against the tasks daily, should be daily. And this is the PowerPoint of the whole process, okay? Because we're telling workers what we want them to work on and how much time they have to complete it. When they enter their time against it, they're telling us what really happened on the project. So they're being held accountable. We're holding them accountable to the budget hours and budget dollars without even having to stand there and watch them. And what you're going to find out is when you do that, things just get done on time. The majority of the time, things get done on time. Now, there are situations where they'll encounter things in the field that, weren't predictable. And it's going to, make them go over on their hours, and that's, excusable, and we'll capture that in our daily log in case there's any change orders there that we could possibly pursue. And so we have documentation of what happened, when we close out our project and we want to know why things happened the way they did. A lot of that information gets captured here, but a lot also should get captured in the daily log, okay? And normally what I find is if someone's not completing their work on time, there's 1 of 2 problems. One, they encountered something on site that wasn't predictable that they had to maneuver around, or that slowed them down. Could even be another trade in the way, right? The second thing is that they need training. Okay, so if you have a worker that's working for you that needs training on a certain task or series of tasks, that's going to become real obvious. You're going to know who needs training and who doesn't, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is, now that we have some data entered in there, I want to go up to this Reports tab. And there's an employee efficiency report in here. We're going to take a look at that. So our average labor rate on this project, I plugged it in at $25 an hour. If you remember, I said I'm going to put a nice round number in here. Well, our actual average labor rate so far has been $19.48 an hour. So we know we're running below our average labor rate. Our percent of efficiency overall on the project is 148.8%. So we have, for these tasks, $10,927.25. So far, we've actually spent $7,344.10 to complete them. Now, that second crew does have more work to complete because they used their hours for the 2-week span and they didn't complete all of the work, okay? So our allotted hours were 437. Our actual hours to date are 377. And our project wage equivalent, our average labor rate is 25. Our actual average labor rate is $19.48 an hour. And overall, our workers are earning us $28.98 an hour. So they're running ahead of the budget. Now, the top three are the good crew, the feeder installers. And you can see that they're running ahead of the budget about 32%. So they really smoked it, right? This tells you the employee's current wage. This tells you their project equivalent. So we're paying them $22.50 an hour. This guy's actually earning us $33.89 an hour. I have some other data in here on other projects, so it's averaging their actual equivalent wage over all of the projects. So against all the projects this employee has worked on, they're actually earning us $30.91 an hour. Now, I skewed the hours like this just so you could get a good example of, what you're going to see. And so, if this employee comes to me and wants a merit increase, wants a raise, I can look in here and say, yeah, I can afford to give that person a raise, right? Or a bonus. The second crew is 10% behind budget. So this worker, we're paying him $23.44 an hour. He's only actually earning us $21.31 an hour on this project so far. Lifetime equivalent is $20.77. Now, this might be one of those workers that needs some training. And I'll tell you another important part of this. These guys, these field managers, guys and gals, I should say, if they don't have this tool to actually know what's going on their project, then they have to go by their gut feeling. And their gut feeling in relation to employees and how valuable they are, whether they're earning their wage or not, is often very wrong. They think they have to run all day long. So if one guy's not running, one worker, they think they're not worth a darn. When in reality, they might be keeping up with the budget. Maybe they're barely keeping up with the budget. Maybe they're right at it. But at least they're keeping up with the budget. And I don't know why you would want to get rid of a worker who is actually keeping up with the budget. Okay? I've had contractors send workers out to my site specifically for me to tell them if they're actually earning them any money or not. Because all the other foremen were complaining about them not being worth a darn. And, in some cases I've found, well, they need a little training on pipe bending or something. I'll give them a quick course, send them out, and they actually are earning the company money. I wouldn't turn loose of a person like that, because what you get back might be one who doesn't earn you money, right? So as long as they're keeping up with that budget, there's no reason to get rid of them in my mind. And this tells the whole story right here. I normally don't see dollars skewed quite this, extreme. Most people are pretty close in there. Of course, you do have your high achievers, and you have some low achievers. But my philosophy is those people who are struggling to keep up with the budget, let's give them some training. Let's see if we can help them and turn them into good employees, rather than get rid of them. And if we can convert them, then that's a good thing. And if we can't convert them, okay, then, if a good candidate comes along, we can exchange them out or whatever. But this is going to tell the story on what's going on your project, who's earning you money and who isn't. Like I say, normally, if you're telling them what they need to do and how much time they have to do it in order to make your company money, most of them are going to do that. So it's either a training problem or it's something they encountered on the project. And if it's something they encountered on the project, we need to take a look at, is there a change order available to offset this? And we also need to document that so that we know on future projects, what we might be up against, right? Another thing I'd like to point out is look at your project overall. Both of these crews working together are earning you a project wage equivalent of $28.98 an hour. That's almost $4 over your average labor rate. So do we need to make a quick hurry up decision? Oh man, look at these guys are losing us money. We got to get rid of them and get someone else in here. Wouldn't it be better to take a little time and work with them, bring them up to the profit level and keep them as employees? And, that's why this tool is so important. You can look at this every day and see how your project is performing so that you can make intelligent decisions on, the things that are affecting your profit line, rather than, firing everybody who isn't quite making it. Convert them into profitable employees. Okay, let's go back to our Gantt chart for just a second. Okay, and so here I just wanted to show you that, this schedule is self-updating. You don't have to update it. It tells you exactly what happened on your project every day. This is our goal here. This is what actually happened. You can see down here, this is the very day that our task turned red, okay? So if I open this up in the morning and I try to look at these daily, if I see some red on there, I'm going to go out to that project and find out what's going on there, or give a call to the field supervisor, the field manager, and say, hey, we have a problem on this task. Let's figure out what that is. Let's get that problem solved as quick as possible, to minimize those losses. And this will actually, to some extent, it'll make predictions. In other words, it'll turn red before you actually lose money to let you know, hey, you're trending to not complete on time and on budget, so that you can actually get out there and fix that problem before you lose the money. And and really minimize your losses. Okay, and then your completion percentages are updating over here to tell you what state your task is in as far as what percent of completion. Okay, that's all I have for today. As always, I appreciate you coming by my channel and viewing my information, and just thank you very much for being here.